So this morning we are taking a moment to talk with Dakota Stott. She is the church's only graduating high school senior this year. And traditionally, we have taken a moment during our Youth Sunday worship services to focus on our seniors for just a short spotlight to let them give a little testimony as to what McKownville has meant to them as they grow in their faith journey. So I'm going to ask Dakota a few questions and hope that that leads her to tell her story. So, Dakota, you're going to move on to college this fall. What are your plans for study?
So I plan on attending Eastern University, which is in St. David's, Pennsylvania. I plan on double majoring in both youth ministry and psychology.
How do you think your time at McKownville has prepared you to move on to college?
I definitely feel like my time at McKownville has definitely pushed me towards the youth ministry major, of course, but as well as giving me a strong foundation in my faith to go on to a Christian school such as Eastern to really bond with other Christian youth like me.
You were a part of the Mission of Peace team and Conference Council on Youth Ministries. How has that helped uh, in your faith journey also?
Going on the mission of peace is definitely when I decided that I was interested in youth ministry. I was affirmed by that choice when I joined CCYM because an overwhelming amount of pastors and peers and leaders were all like, yeah, you'd be amazing at that. So I was really confirmed that that's what I wanted to do when I joined CCYM pretty much after my first week on CCYM.
You also attended two international youth conferences. How have those experiences impacted your faith?
So, my first youth conference that I went to was Y15 in Orlando, Florida. And that really broke me out of my shell and kind of made my faith my own because at that point I was a 7th grader. I was young. So it really did make my faith my own by going to that conference and learning what God meant to other kids my age and what God meant to the United Methodist Church, and it really taught me to love God's way. So, and then my second one was Y19, which was this last summer, and I cannot believe it's been a year already. But I honestly took that as a big opportunity for me to be a leader because being the youth group president, it was awesome for me to help the younger youth in our youth group come out of their shell and open up to God the same way I did at my first time at the conference. So I liked being able to guide them to their awakening, I guess, at this conference.
What is one of your favorite memories from McKownville Sunday School?
One of my favorite memories from McKownville Sunday School, I guess, would have to be when we were in 2nd grade. We did the David and Goliath thing, and we made props and we shot slingshots at my dad when we did David and Goliath, and that's how Miss Christie taught the David and Goliath unit. I still remember.
So, talking about Miss Christie, that makes me think of Vacation Bible School. You participated in Vacation Bible School both as a young student and as a volunteer. What are some memories that you have from McKownville's Vacation Bible School?
So my youngest year volunteering, I was Miss Christie's aide for the music and games. And that was a lot of fun, but this past year I got a little more serious with the Vacation Bible School, and instead of being an assistant, I was the head of story time. So I had my own little time and I read to all the kids and they were excited to come see me, and it kind of was fulfilling to be able to be the kid and then be the person, the adult that is there for the kids and makes it so much fun to go full circle with one thing is pretty cool.
So, youth group has been a big part of your life. What is one of your favorite memories from youth group?
Um, I don't know. I have a lot of really good memories with youth group because like on Y night, like on our trip for Y19, we drove intentionally so that we could like make more memories, and so many memories were made. Beth, if you're watching, you know, like um, there's just a lot of like joy comes out of youth group. Like even when we're all having a really rough week, we still come together at youth group and like talk about it and then move on from what happened in the last week and start a new week together there like on a Sunday night. And sardines is always fun, but it can get pretty competitive. It has started fights. Everybody wants to go first as the hider because all the good spots will be taken. Or all of the community service that we've done and the pumpkin patch and youth groups is just a lot of fun, and that's one of the hard things about me like going off to college is I'm gonna be leaving youth group. Since I've been the president for the last 3 years, it's gonna be weird for me to like pass it on to somebody new.
So, as president, there have been traditions where you started off each meeting with 4 questions. So, today I am going to put those 4 questions to you. How are you feeling? How is it with your soul today?
I mean, it kind of, as the week of graduation goes by, you kind of think about all of that time that like I missed with youth group this year, which is kind of unfortunate because like we had so many big plans for overnights and I was a confirmation mentor, so hey Rowan, like so there's a lot of stuff that like we missed in youth group this year. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it'll get better. So that's okay.
How many times did you say today that you were hungry?
Once, I think. Yeah, only once.
Tell me a little bit about why that question is important.
So we always ask the youth group every Sunday 4 questions, and the one she's discussing in particular would be, how many times did you complain you were hungry today? Because not that we really care if you were hungry today, but because it makes you aware that if you know at youth group, I'm going to ask you how many times did you complain, you become more aware and conscious and you keep track of how many times you said you were hungry, because in reality, sometimes we're not hungry, we're bored, or we're tired, or we're thirsty, and we're not actually hungry. And there are people all over the world that are dying from hunger. And we say so commonly in a sentence like, I'm so hungry. No, you're not. You're bored, you're tired, you're thirsty. But are you really hungry? And it forces the kids to like really think about it. And everyone's gotten a lot better about complaining.
It gives you a little insight as to what you're really hungering for.
Yeah.
So another question that you always ask is, what was your world problem? Tell me what your first was this week and why this question is important.
So my first world problem this week was that I had to get gas twice in 1 week, which is like crazy for me because I have a pretty big tank. So I went through like half a tank of gas in like one day doing something with some of my friends from my gymnastics team. So I had to spend like $60 on my gas tank this week. So that was my first world problem. But the reason we asked what your first world problem is because sometimes it puts into perspective, like, is this really a problem or is it like a first world problem? Like if we lived anywhere else in the world, would our problems seem so upsetting? Like, I'll call Rachel out on this because it's happened more than once. Like, she says, Duncan messed up my order. Or Starbucks line was forever. We waited in the Starbucks drive-thru forever. So, like, that's a first world problem. I'm sure we all have first world problems. I'm sure as you're watching this right now, things are popping into your head about what is your first world problem of the week. But mine would definitely be having to get gas twice, because that's such a first world problem, because in a third world country I wouldn't even have a car to put gas into to get gas twice, let alone having to buy the gas twice.
Especially as a 17-year-old.
Yeah. Most countries, let alone third world countries, don't even have cars this young, so.
So I think probably among the four, my favorite question that you always ask is, where have you seen the face of God this week?
Yeah. That one's the one that the kids usually, the youth, usually like have a hard time with. It usually takes a little bit. We usually have to go back to some people. But I guess I saw the face of God this week in my gymnastics team. So I saw the face of God in the gymnastics team this week because I don't want to just advertise what actually happened, but there was a tragic loss in one of my teammates' families. So we all got together and got a card, and everybody on the team signed it, and we bought her like Starbucks and cake pops, and like just tried to reach out and be there for her family. So how willing my team was to help really like showed me the face of God in every one of them.
Is there anything else that you would like to add with our family and friends at McKownville as you move on to this next chapter of your journey?
Thank you guys for everything you've done to get me as far as I have. I know there's definitely been times where I've doubted myself or like what God's plan was for me, but you guys were always there to like back me up and reassure me that like this is God's plan. So thank you.
There's been some big things that have happened for you in the last 4 years while you were in high school, and I'm sure that there will be some even bigger things waiting around the corner. And know that McKownville will always be there at your back to support you with our prayers and our encouragement, just as we always have. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your testimony today, Dakota, and we look forward to hearing more.
Thank you.